The last 2 years, Syracuse has given Clemson a lot of problems. Beat them 2 years ago, almost beat them last year. This year, maybe not so much. Clemson is a 4-touchdown favorite Saturday night in the Carrier Dome.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. And you want to say that Clemson should blow them out on paper. Obviously, the #1 team looking stronger than ever. But Syracuse has kind of had Clemson's number. Like you said, beat them 2 years ago. They were a 23.5-point favorite in that game in 2017. In the last 5 games, Clemson's just 1-4 against the spread. Now, I would say don't read into how bad Syracuse looked last week against Maryland.
Gave up 1,000,000 points.
A million points. They were on the road their first 2 games. This is their home opener. And if anything, I think they were probably looking ahead to this game. So I think Clemson outright, obviously by a lot, but 28 points is a lot for a team that usually plays Clemson pretty close.
Amy, I don't know if I've got anything to say because you made all the points for me. I agree 100%. Clemson's going to win this game, but 4 touchdowns, way too many points.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in what happened last week, like you said, with Syracuse and Maryland. And it's Tommy DeVito, baby. Syracuse starting quarterback going to cover the spread here. Q's covers the number.
Kind of another interesting note, the under is 6-1 in the last 7 games between these two.
62.5 is the total. Something to think about.
Something to think about.
Tua Tagovailoa and Alabama, massive favorites on the road at South Carolina. Amy, favored by 26 points.
Oh, good SEC matchup. And the one thing I'm looking at here is that Nick Saban is 16-0 against former assistants Will Muschamp.
Poor Will Muschamp.
0-2 against his former boss there. And both those games when he was at Florida, I was at Florida at that time covering that team as well. And Nick Saban embarrassed Will Muschamp multiple times. It wasn't even close.
No chill.
I think when you're looking at the 60-point over-under, that I think is where I have my eye with the amount of points that both of these teams have scored, especially with South Carolina hung up 72 against Charleston Southern, which is impressive against air, even though it's Charleston Southern.
Indeed.
Impressive against air. So really, I think that's what I have my eye on in this one.
I kind of like the over as well, but as far as the spread is concerned, you talk about the Charleston Southern game. I watched a lot of that. Ryan Helinski, the quarterback, filling in for Jake Bentley. A lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage, athletes getting out in space. They have better athletes. South Carolina does not have better athletes than Alabama. And I don't know if Helinski can beat them down the field. I like Bama to cover this number big. Bama by 30+ here on the road at South Carolina. And I'm kind of with you on that over 60.
Yeah, I think what we've seen, Alabama in their last 5 games, they're 1-5 against the spread. But in their last game, they pulled back a little bit in the fourth quarter. And I don't think we're going to see that in this game because it's an SEC game, and Nick Saban's going to be making a statement against Will Muschamp.
Foot on the throat, poor Will Muschamp. Justin Fields and Ohio State looking mighty impressive to start the season. They are a 16.5-point favorite, Amy, on the road at Indiana.
Yeah, 6 touchdowns in his first 2 games. Ohio State won their last 23 head-to-head matchups against Indiana. Indiana's a tricky out, or is a tough little out for teams, especially at home. When they're given at least 10 points at home, they've covered 9 of their last 13. Their scoring defense has improved tremendously from last season. They're 18th this season, 81st last season. So going to be a tough test for Justin Fields in that offense. But again, I think it's Ohio State, and I don't think that they'll cover. I think it'll be a close one.
You know, Ohio State looked really good last week against Cincinnati, and I think a lot of people are really hyped up about the Buckeyes. But I am not. And listen, I'm not going to BS the audience. No one watching this can name one single player on Indiana, so I'm not going to rattle through a list of players on the team. Here's what I'm going to tell you.
This is me trying to name a player.
I can't. I maybe give you a player on Indiana basketball, Indiana football, maybe not so much. But here's what I can tell you. Ohio State, inexplicably over the last couple of years, have had these games where they go on the road in the Big Ten and they lose outright. We saw it a couple of years ago against Iowa. We saw it last year against Purdue. I don't know if I'm brave enough to call for the outright upset here. Indiana nearly 5-1 on the money line, but I love the Hoosiers to fall inside this number because I think Ohio State is a little overvalued.
I think they'll probably underestimate them too, especially with that noon kickoff. You always get a little bit of sleepiness coming out.
And I'm still pissed at Ohio State for not covering against FAU in the opener, so I'll take the Hoosiers.
There it is.
Our best bets for Week 3 of college football. You know the slate's not great on Saturday. Not a lot of great games, but money-making opportunities. Amy, what's your best bet?
I like Oklahoma -23 at UCLA. Obviously, we know the Sooners have an incredible offense.
Indeed.
They look amazing.
They do.
Jalen Hurts under center with Lincoln Riley, a lot of points. UCLA, what is going on out
Chip
there
Kelly,
with Chip
yikes.
Kelly. They haven't covered the spread this season. They're 0-2. In Chip Kelly's tenure there, they're 5-14 covering the spread. This offense looks anemic. It was 98th in scoring offense last season. This season it's 119th. So there's no way they're going to be able to keep up with the Sooners.
Here's the analysis of that game. Oklahoma's good, UCLA stinks. I
Bad.
like Oklahoma as well. For my best bet, though, I'm going to go over to the Pac-12. Now, Hawaii's been very impressive to start
I like
the year,
this
too.
one.
Oh, yeah. Hawaii beat Arizona, beat Oregon State. Their coach, Nick Rolovich, sent out a picture of the Rose Bowl recently after beating 2 Pac-12 teams. Washington, conversely, coming off an upset at the hands of Cal. I would guess that Chris Peterson and Jacob Eason saw that Rose Bowl thing that was tweeted out by Nick Rolovich. I think Washington is going to vaporize Hawaii in this game. A 3-touchdown favorite. Washington has no trouble whatsoever. I already bet it. I love the Washington Huskies, a 3-touchdown favorite at home over Hawaii.
You know that's been on the bulletin boards all week.
Absolutely. And you know what I'm going to have? Money in my bank account thanks to Washington.